Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunch and Learn. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Today is Thursday, the 11th. I'm going to pull up just an intro slides here right before we dive in. And just to introduce myself, I'm Ashley Wilson on the pre-sales engineering team. So I'll be your Lunch and Learn host. Just to go through the rest of these here. Just announcing some decisions end of life support for version 8. You can check out the doc page for more information here. And then the roadmap meeting. So if you want to know about the things that we've been doing the last 6 months, new improvements, or what we're looking at on the coming 18 months, check those out. Next one is next week. So next Thursday will be May 18th. From here, I'll stop sharing my screen. Got a question from Anon. Is there an easy way to recalculate holidays schedule every year? Recalculate. How do you mean recalculate? Like how we know scheduled data entities? I see. Let me think here. I'm actually gonna put a pin on this one. I'm not as familiar with scheduled data entities, but bear with me. Let me see if I can make one of the attendees a panelist here in case he knows anything. Hang tight. Hey, actually going to look on the doc page just around the scheduled data entities, because if we need, when we talk about recalculating, I guess that's my next question is, how do we mean recalculate? That might help me answer that question a bit better.
Maybe if Anon shared a screen so we get an understanding of what the build looks like.
All right. That's not a bad idea. Might be better than typing it in the chat. Okay, it says we have some holidays like first Monday of some month. Oh, so like almost creating your own specific holidays, like own custom holidays. Because that is that's a setting, that's a culture settings in the portal, I believe. She's trying to pull it up right now. Open questions, yeah. So there's here, I'm just gonna pull this up here. So under the system data, there's this locations that you can update, and that's the tags, edit different locations with different days, hours, as well as tags. And then when you change to that location, if a specific day is tagged as a holiday, you can set those recursively. So like the first Monday in the month, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be one way. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my Zoom just gave me a pop-up. that'd be one way that you could tackle something like that. For example, how do I know on which date Thanksgiving will be in 2056? Oh, I see. Some more like a date, like a calendar calculator. So not so much the settings like we're looking at, but how can I create a flow with a calendar calculator?
We do have the opportunity to integrate with iCal, Outlook, Google Calendars to pull that in as well.
Right. I'm thinking that could be a workflow with integrations with Google Cal, because you could say, give me, like to your point, I want to know what the Thanksgiving Day would be on such and such year. And the Google Calendar integration, if there's like a calculator for it, you can get the answer back. Incorporate it in your flow, incorporate it in your locations. Suppose you could use some of the steps in decisions as well, but it might be easier to use an integration if it's already been built out. My 2 cents.
There's also a section in the documentation for configuring locations.
Yes. We're just on.
Where you can add business hours, work days, and holidays.
This is what I was talking about.
Correct.
So this, like after you get into that system data folder, this is the phase after that, when you're adding and tagging these to specific calendars. And now you wouldn't even have to get the data or get the date, because it would already be calculated for you. So that's configuring locations doc page. Copy the link and pop it in chat. There we go. Well, thank you, decisions chat. Any other specific questions? Otherwise, I was just gonna go through a brief build on some dashboards and reporting that I'm working on for a project right now. And share that in the meantime. Thankfully, something like this is pretty basic. In fact, this is a preview of what it's going to be right now. Oh, in case the got a question in case that the holiday falls on a weekend, that location is not going to move it to the next Monday, right? Oh, I see. Are you trying to just accommodate if a holiday falls on a weekend, how to set like a grace period date? That's what it sounds like to me. That's setting configuring locations here. Let me see, when we add a holiday, it has us pick the date. Well, since I would posit if this is a date time type that gets saved in decisions under this location, what you could do is whenever you're calculating for the year, like some time off or what that time off would be, you could run a rule against everything tagged as holiday and check what day of the week it falls on. And if it falls on like a Saturday or Sunday, you could have the calendar say that the day off would be that Monday or that Friday, just add or subtract day, depending on when it falls on. And then you could accommodate for something like that. And then you could send that reminder after the 5 business days, right? Or it could at least accommodate that a holiday, if it is that day off, that it's not going to consider that when counting business days. So next year we'll need to reset all those manually. No, you could put it on a scheduled job if you wanted to. Scheduled job that could run once a year. It'll generate the calendar for you. And then it's hands off that way. That's what I would do. I wouldn't want to manually run that every year, unless it was like a specific task I was given. Yeah, I could put that on a scheduled job once a year. That's what I would do. How to calculate Thanksgiving then? For the 2056? So would you need it that far in advance? Like how far in advance would we need the Thanksgiving date? Because in decisions, you can add in a rule, you can say Thanksgiving plus however many years, 365 times 10, 20, 30, whatever the difference between 2056 would be. Put that in the rule and add that many days to whatever the Thanksgiving date is that we're looking at. And then it should give us some date time data back, and then that would give us the day, and you could figure out the day that way. And holiday Easter, yeah. And other holidays, Easter would be interesting. Could be. I guess it could work for any of them. You would just put in whatever the date would be. That's one way to solve it, I think. That's how I would try it. Get a date time picker. Pick a date, September or November 25th through the 27th. It would probably calculate from this year. How many years do you want to check in advance for this date? Give me back the date or the day of the week of that date time. And then that would be when your Thanksgiving would be, or Easter, or whatever holiday you're thinking of. I think it would work the same either way. I'm not rambling, am I? That made sense in my head. I guess Easter is bound to the first full moon after something. Oh, geez. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I suppose you could do something like that too. Just depends on the clock that you're looking at. So this is something I'm just working on now. In this case, we have this mantra of working smarter, not harder. And since I needed to have a lot of these tiles, I was thinking of the smartest way that I could make all of these tiles without having to drag and drop every single one. And I learned, you know, after you create the tile flow itself, if I already have some tile data that I want to work with, it's really easy to just copy all of those flows in this main screen. Give them 1, 2, 3, 4, go in and change the data on the tile, and then just remap whatever these tiles would be. I feel like when I first started, something like that would have taken me like an hour alone. And it ended up only taking me 5 minutes just by copying and pasting flows. And what's nice about the copying and the pasting of the flows, or really any element, is it's a good way to not have to reinvent the wheel. Like in this case, like if I don't want to have like a static, or maybe not static, but the same tile show up every single time, that's a really good way to do that. Same with reports and anything too. All right, Ian, I even messed it up, all that talk. Yep, here, I just need to make a report to put in that dashboard. If there's no other questions from there, I'll answer any that come in the chat, but I'll just open the floor from here. Mark, unless you're working on anything and you had any questions you want to talk about.
Working on JavaScript controls,
Oh,
but I think I'm okay.
what for, dare I ask? Like what kind of JavaScript, what are you trying to do with the JavaScript control?
Open up Plaid integration inside of a form.
I can help you with that.
I know.
I see what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I can cheat. I have that pre-built already.
Yep, Anon is asking for a demo, so perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull this up here. So this is a Plaid integration flow. So a Plaid is it's banking details verification. Like you sign into your bank, they verify you, you get some two-factor authentication, all that good stuff. I think we've all interacted with something like this before. Perfect. Yeah. So with Plaid, there's a certain level of security. So you have to do like the passing of tokens. If you guys have ever signed in and you had to get a text message and pop in the number to make sure that it was you. Plaid does something similar, but it's all on the back end, so all on the decisions end. And we have to use a JavaScript control in order to run it. And when I look into the form that actually this JavaScript control lives, it's invisible. But what we'll be able to do is look at how we can set something like this up, put it in the form, and then run that JavaScript control to do whatever those functions would be, which in this case is going to be running this Plaid screen that you see. So if I hit continue, this is all a JavaScript control here. That gives me access to be able to run something like this. I'm going to get out of here. Wait, exit. Yes, exit. So creating a JavaScript control is going to be under creating the forms, since that's where they're going to live. That's how you're able to run those controls. And at the very, very, very bottom is where you would add any of your scripts or actions here. Now I make it as you can do like the data control, which is what shows up on the form here. You can name it whatever the JavaScript control is. This is going to be the important bit here, where you would have a JS class name. This is where you can refer to it later. And then this is where you would upload the JavaScript. So it would need to be like a text file that you could show. Upload it here. Save the control. And once that control is saved, it says a hidden file. That's why it doesn't show up right away, which is important to know. But once it shows up, oh, here we go here. This is what I need. My JavaScript control that I made for Plaid, for example. Now I can drag and drop that JavaScript control, ugh, just like I would any other form component. So if it's in my current folder, whatever folder it lives in. So this is that Plaid link control. Run it into the form. And that's how this control runs. It runs in line with the form. So you could have this say, please wait, we're going to direct you to a new window, and that could run a JavaScript control. Or you could just do it low key in the background. That's why it's invisible like this. The required pieces for a JS code for control. I'm not too adept in JavaScript, but what I can do, let me come in here. Oop. To show you how this one was put together. This is asking for specific input data, so it needed to take in a link token. And that variable is something that gets passed into this JS control. So you're not gonna, I don't know if you'll be able to see it right away. Let me try and share my screen in a way that I can show you. That way you can see what that might look like. There we go. So this is an example of the JavaScript control. This is the exact one for the Plaid integration that we use. So in here, there's this variable that needs to be passed in, this link token. And through the syntax, that's the exact file that gets uploaded in here, and that's exactly what runs. And since we're taking in the link token as a input into the form, gets passed into our JavaScript control, it gives us that Plaid integration. So we get that link token by a step that's in the Plaid folder. So once you've installed Plaid on the environment, you get all these actions. One of them is to get a token, which is needed for that JavaScript control. And this is all in their documentation. So whenever you make integrations or using the modules, it's helpful to have both documentation. And then after we run that JavaScript, it gives us an access token, and then we can start getting some data. But you could run this as an active form flow because you can designate certain pieces to be run on run on startup or triggered by other events that run. So what I mean is, so yeah, there's this auto run at startup. So what you could do is have an active form flow rule that checks for the specific JavaScript control. If other controls aren't run, don't run yet. And then just have that trigger based on if a value has changed on the other controls. If this control has run, you have like these separate gates, and then you can run this one last and have like a hierarchy. Question about, can you please show to add a parameterized query using Snowflake as a database? When I tried using at parameter name in the query, it didn't work with Snowflake, but with SQL Server connection, it works fine. Okay, so query is working in SQL, it is not working in Snowflake. Mark, do you know if Tyler's available? I know he's worked with Snowflake before. I can actually just check too. Let me see if I can get somebody to answer that question to come on call. If not, I'll have him reach out to you. Bear with me. In my JS, it's looking for a specific button on the form. Oh, okay, I see. So a button is not able to function with that JavaScript. Yeah, that would be a good way to do it, is with those rules, those active form flows. Let me see. Can we look into our Snowflake documentation?
I guess my question would be, is the query working at all, or is it the parameters not working?
I feel like it's the latter, but I'd like to know too. Just because it works. The reason I think so is because it works in SQL. So the query seems.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah.
Everybody, this is Tyler. I asked him about the Snowflake parameter name question and see if he could answer this live on the call. Tyler, it's just a question we got in chat about adding parameterized query in the Snowflake database. When they tried using it at parameter name and the query, it didn't work on Snowflake, but with SQL Server connection, it works fine.
There's a way to do this. I've done this before. Let me think.
Okay. Mark, do you have Jeopardy music?
I do.
Let's go.
Are you seeing it through the query or are you seeing it through the? What are you seeing the query through? If you don't mind me asking,
We can't hear you.
we can't hear you.
Yeah.
And what version of Decision are you on? That's another critical question too. Because I did this on version 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I don't know the exact version. This is me first time using. I'm new to new decisions. How do I find that? I can check right now if you can tell me.
Yeah. So go ahead,
I was
Ashley.
going to say I could just show you on the screen how to get there. If you're in your environment,
Yeah.
you click the little icon up top, the guy.
Yeah.
And hit about, and then the first one is a platform version.
8.7.0.70935.
Okay, then you should be able to actually query Snowflake. You're trying to pass a parameter in. Are you trying to?
Yeah.
What step are you using to actually put the parameter in?
So if I go to the create data types integration and I click on the database integration and there is an add query step.
Yep.
That's one.
Okay, so you're using OBC connector. Okay. And are you trying to test it in the parameterized like local connection, add a query?
Add query, the last option. I click on that and then select my connection. Click next, then I'll get the dialog box to enter my query, name of the query, and then query. So I put, let's see if I put the query and, and like where, like stock number equal to @ stock number.
Yeah.
That automatically, works with SQL Server because the parameter drop, the section where it shows the parameter, it automatically recognize it's a parameter and it shows up on that parameter list. But when I do the same with Snowflake, it doesn't work. And when I try to run query, it tries to execute the exact statement without
exactly.
replacing. Yeah.
I have a Snowflake database set up.
Just to make sure, Sibu, you have the ODBC driver for Snowflake installed, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean that see, I am a developer, so the admin rights I do not have. So what we are trying, we were using SQL Server till now, and it was working fine. Now we wanted to switch one of our app that we are building to Snowflake, and we created a new connection in Snowflake. Okay, so that what happened is I already submitted a support ticket with that. At the time of connection, there was only one table in that Snowflake database and schema. Now after that, I added new table. The connection doesn't refresh. So we already have one issue that I have raised a support ticket with decisions. So I don't know if these are these are related. I'm not sure, but
I don't think they would be related, or unless you're calling a new table within that. Are you calling them the new tables in that query?
yeah. So one thing we noticed is even though the connection is specific to a schema, I could refer other databases. So I don't know. It's just I know when I was testing without any parameters, that query ran fine. If I click run query, it goes.
I would say open a support ticket so you can share your screen so they can look at it. It's hard for me to troubleshoot without looking at your screen. Of course, I don't want your screen going out to other people. So I'd raise a support ticket to be able to do it because it seems like it's something very simple that unfortunately I just can't troubleshoot without being able to see your screen, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I don't have a Snowflake database set up so I can test it or show you. Unfortunately, only I can show you be SQL based, which is working for you.
Okay, I'll raise a support ticket then. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Any other queries today we can address? Anybody in the middle of building something that they had a question about at all? Or hopefully I answered some questions around that, the JavaScript controls, hierarchy in a form, how to solve that, how to use them, how to find them, create them. $. Have you tried $sign instead of @ for the Snowflake parameter? He did leave, but that could be something we send along to support team when they reach out to him, or he reaches out to them rather. All right, well, if not, it is 12:34. Didn't have any other pre-submitted questions or anything come in today. And we gave Subu a way to continue along with what he's looking for. So we'll go ahead and close it out for today. The next Lunch and Learn will be Monday on the 15th, same time. Tomorrow we'll have off. And don't forget that product roadmap is also that week on Thursday if you're interested as well. And Decisions Days is coming up. If you aren't signed up already or aren't going, Decisions Days is coming up May 22nd through the 25th. So you can come on site, a lot of fun activities, and you can meet a lot of us, talk about your use case as well. And I'll actually put in some more information of that in chat right now. But if that's something you're interested in, please come along. Until then, have a good day, everybody. Have a good weekend.